bombshell article like this, once every like 4 to 5 years, where it hits a peak, and then things just slowly start to unravel, and it's like, well, they just won the Super Bowl, and it's like 2 years later, you're like, well, that was 2 years ago. Look at now, and you're thinking, well, do you really want to have to blow the whole thing back up again? Because, I mean, if you're saying that the quarterback essentially doesn't want to learn new tricks, I always like sports are such an interesting thing. These guys get paid so much money that you really can't tell them what to do. They work their whole lives to get to a spot in sports that now they no longer want to do the actual thing to continue to get better. It's like, I've made it. And he's an interesting story because he's like the coach's son, and that's always been the thing. It's like, but when do you get to this level where you're like, I made it and you're not telling me anything? I don't want to get any better. I don't want to change anything. This is the way we're doing it, whether you like it or not. Like, the whole evolution of sports has just gone off the rails someplace. It's very frustrating when you read stuff like this.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's as damning as people will take it. I think it's more damning to the ideas of maybe people that sort of build a theory based on a foundation that's shaky, is how I described it. In other words, look, I don't think Jalen Hurts is, and it's funny because at times he's described as, a coach's kid. He likes hard coaching. He wants hard coaching. And then at other times it's like, well, he won't do this. He won't do that. I think it's more he's not comfortable doing this, and he's been very successful doing something else. So the question is, yeah, I'm pretty good at this, and I don't really like this. Like, is that rare with great players?
That's fine to say, but to almost, the way that it seemed to me almost is like that you're unwilling to try it. Like, you're unwilling to even see if it's something that you can incorporate. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I have no interest, almost like I have no interest in evolving. I'm good with what I'm doing. It's like Ben Simmons. I don't need to shoot. I'm still an all-star. I'm still scoring 18 points a game. I don't need to learn how to shoot because I'm still, like, he would say stuff like, I'm still an all-star. And people would say, yeah, but you could be an elite player if you incorporated this. Well, I don't need to. And this is almost like what you're hearing here is like, I won a Super Bowl doing this. I don't need to do that. And it's like, do you want to win one Super Bowl? I know that sounds selfish. Like, that almost sounds like, well, that's cool. You won your cute little one Super Bowl. Do you want to win another one, or do you want to just be the guy that won one? And it's like, I don't know how you wouldn't be unwilling to just listen and say, okay, let's incorporate this. Let's see if it's something, to say that I'm uncomfortable doing it. Why? Why are you uncomfortable doing it? You've never tried it before.
Mike, the irony of today's report, of today's article that's come out, and you bring up that it feels like one of these comes every 4 or 5 years. I would say it feels like one comes every 1 to 2 years. But maybe. The irony of today's is, yesterday the owner spoke at the meetings and spoke almost as glowingly as you can possibly speak about the quarterback of the team right from the owner. And then I wake up this morning and I read this article and I'm like, is the owner, is he naive to it? Does he not believe it? Does he have a different perspective on it? I mean, how do you kind of reason those two things where you read this article on one hand, which seemingly comes across as scathing on Jalen Hurts, and then the owner who, for lack of a better word, loves Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. Well, listen, if you're the owner of the football team, Jalen Hurts is probably everything you want in the face of the franchise, right? He's never in trouble. He barely talks. I mean, that's one thing I think is the interesting part here, is that you have a franchise quarterback who, to the fan base, is you can't connect with the guy. Normally you have a franchise quarterback and he's the face of the team and he's everywhere. He can't not be seen. And the connection with that guy is, with the fan base, so great. So maybe behind closed doors, Lori is saying, look, I got this guy. He's great. He never gets in trouble. He's everything you want in a quarterback. But on the outside, we don't see that because he's just so stoic, right? Like, you picture these franchise quarterbacks and you've got, Brady and Montana and, guys who are just always in the limelight, and Hurts is so opposite of that. So Lurie, I think, likes the perception of who he has as his quarterback, but you might say, does he not know this stuff's going on? I don't know, man. I don't know what it's like in that building. I don't know what it's like. Is he there every day? I think he's a pretty hands-on guy, right? He's not one of these guys that takes his helicopter and goes flying someplace
no.
else.
Yeah, he was talking about, he's texting Howie at 4 a.m. about the long snapper.
Yeah, so I got to imagine if Hurts is he could be the teacher's pet. The way the story puts it out is that he's uncoachable and other people see it and they're frustrated by it. And Lurie maybe doesn't look at it as as big of a deal because he has success and maybe it's a very tough, we've all kind of seen these things, in our own lives of man, how does the guy who's in charge not see what a phony this guy is? Now, I'm not calling Jalen Hurts a phony, but I'm saying maybe the other guys are saying, how are they not seeing what this guy's doing to the locker room here? Because he's so charming.
That's always interesting to me, and that's why I kind of throw that stuff. There was one team source who said, poor body language, not always bought in, not the most coachable, and the players notice. So
if I'm judging Jalen Hurts just of what I see on a television screen, that's it. I've never met Jalen Hurts. I've never been in the building with Jalen Hurts. I don't know anything about the guy. I would say this guy's very hard to connect with, very hard to connect with as an observer. Then I would say he seems unrelatable as a teammate. I can't relate to you. You're almost too good, too goody two-shoe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of, and what I said, which didn't go over well, but I probably shouldn't say it again. But he's Carson Wentz in a different fashion. With Carson, it was more tough to connect with.
I remember the Wentz stuff and reading it and saying, I could see this being accurate. I mean, think about it. Carson Wentz grew up in North Dakota.
Yeah, very religious.
How much diverse interaction did he have in his life before he's now?
Well, I think it was more. It was more about the religion when it comes to Carson, but
still, that. But that's all encompassing. That's his life is the religion, and he's very boxed into an area that just doesn't get exposed to a lot. Now you're dropped into a locker room with guys that are coming from all over the country, and they're looking at this guy and saying, I can't relate to you at all. And he's saying, well, I can't relate to you at all. The disconnect is obvious in that situation. Hurts, the disconnect there seemingly is he's not connectable. He's not willing to open up.
He's aloof. I've been saying that term for how long, Xander? He's aloof.